Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental, a podcast that seeks to educate, empower, and uplift those seeking guidance through the monumental world of mental health. I'm your host, Raquel Martin, a PhD candidate in medical and clinical psychology. This podcast is not meant to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health clinician. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental. I am Raquel Martin. So today we have a guest, Miss Kaydian Murphy. We do like a bunch of different episodes. We do like me talking about mental health, those basic things. We do guest interviews with psychologists and therapists. And then we also have shows where we have individuals talk about their experience in mental health. But I also have like an amazing group of friends, and half the time I wish our conversations were recorded because we really be just dropping genius dimes and quarters and all those things. So I also want to have a segment when I'm talking to my friends about things that I think that we've been working on. And when I was thinking about the mind-body connection, people who do a really, really good job of being mindful of mental health isn't just going to therapy, it's also taking care of your body. I automatically thought of Katie. So I brought her on the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I love your podcast, BT Dubs.
I will say this will probably be one of the longer episodes because I talked to Katie for a really long time. So let's start with what's a good question to start with? Okay. So let's start with where you are now regarding because you've always been really good at being mindful of okay, this is my body, this is things I have to do with my body to make sure things are good for the week or things are so I'm not having to break down. But how did you get there? Because you've always been like this. And I've known Katie since the 8th grade, and she's always been like this. So how?
All right. So you've known me since 10th grade when I moved from New York.
I just put so much more time on our friendship because it's
yeah, it feels a lot longer. So, but I think my journey did kind of start in the 8th grade before you knew me, and that's when I became a vegetarian. And along with me being a vegetarian, I used to go to this spiritual place, a physical location, not in my mind, spiritual place, but it was with this group of people. Their organization is called Science of the Soul, and they believe in, oh my gosh, these people are going to kill me. I'm going to mess up what they believe in, but they believe that God is within you and your body is your temple. And so you should only put things into your body that create less karma. So you don't want to ingest animal flesh because obviously there's life and you don't want that to circle and you don't want that to come back on you. So for me, I became a vegetarian mainly because I was having health issues that I couldn't really put a finger on it. A lot of nausea, dizziness, just random things I didn't know. And I realized that when I changed my diet, I felt a lot better. And as a child, you're not really aware of the great benefits of things like that. So anyways, I was a vegetarian for 7 years, kind of, sort of, still dabbled in that organizational belief, but nothing major. And then after 7 years, my grandma came from Jamaica and she made some kind of Jamaican food. And my brother says, okay, Katie, I'm going to go get the meat for you and I'm going to bring it back into the room. And I'm not going to tell anyone. And as soon as I put the meat in my mouth, he burst open my room door and he's like, Katie ate the meat. She ate the meat. And then everyone came down and they didn't even believe him because they knew how committed I was. I didn't eat eggs. I didn't eat dairy outside of cheese. That was my meat. But I had a pretty strict diet. I didn't eat things that had eggs in it or had animal products, gelatin or anything like that. So they didn't believe him, but I confessed and I was like, yeah, I did it. And then ever since then, I had been just eating a whole bunch of meat. So where am I now in my journey? I wouldn't say that I'm a vegetarian, except there are a lot of days that I go vegan or vegetarian. Because after having my son, I realized that I was kind of foggy in my mind. Like I couldn't recall things, and I kept having, what's that tip of the tongue syndrome? Like I just couldn't get things out. And so I started to do a lot of work, and I guess that's what Raquel is talking about now. So now I'm very conscious of the things that I put in my body, and I meditate, and I do affirmations. I listen to affirmations. I do yoga. I do aromatherapy. I'm into crystals. I try to create more of a conscious practice to place myself in a positive mind frame so that I'm not just reacting to the things that happen to me throughout the day.
Yeah, and I don't think that was fair with your brother because you're Jamaican and you said your grandma came from Jamaica. I mean, like this ain't like, oh, we going to the store. Like, oh no, we coming. I'm bringing you from the island. You about to make all this food.
Yo, let me tell
And
you,
I feel like Jamaican food will always be your weakness because it's Jamaican food. That's home. Like, like
the day after we were taking my grandmother to the airport, I'm driving in the front seat, front passenger. My dad is driving. My dad's girlfriend, my grandma are in the back seat. We're driving, and I was like, Dad, I don't feel so good. Can we pull over? And he was like, No, we got to get to the airport. I put the window down and I hurled trajectory vomit out the window
Yep.
somewhere off the highway.
It
it
must be
was
because you weren't eating meat for so long. But I bet you it tasted so good.
it tasted so good. I don't regret it.
Like, so yeah, I know all the things that you do. So like the crystals, I will say you do need to watch the crystals because you said, which one did you send me? Was it a rose quartz?
I sent you rose quartz. That one's all about love and fertility and having an open heart and not having resentment, and it's just a feel good type of stone.
Yes. So Katie sent me these. She sent me three, right? I keep one in my purse. I keep the biggest one next to my on my nightstand. I keep one at my job. And like right after she sent them to me, I got pregnant. So I will say you do need I'm so serious. You do need to be mindful of these crystals, all right? Because like listen, it was very quick, so much that we were like, "Are you serious? You're seriously pregnant?" And I was like, "I'm pregnant." Like, what the heck? You need to be mindful of these crystals, okay?
The
I kept them with me everywhere. Like,
I love them because each crystal is supposed to correlate with a different chakra in your body. And so that crystal correlated, with your heart chakra and the female energy and your fertility and all that good stuff. So it it's just
it did its job. Like,
yeah, you're right. I'm about to go into a whole crystal lesson, but yeah, you're right.
no,
It
you do
works.
need to go into a crystal lesson. But even when, like, even when I told when I told my husband I was pregnant, he was like, "What?" I had to show him 3 tests. I had to show him 3 tests, and he was just like, and he was so baffled. He said, congratulations. And I'm like, what? I was like, thank you. We're so excited. He's just like, I didn't, it's just, I thought this happened so fast. And I'm like, it's magic. It's the
Look, the
crystals. So tell me,
universe
wait.
knew what you wanted.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was like, I want my baby now. So talk about, well, so how'd you even get into the crystals? Because I feel like I see stuff with the crystals online and stuff like that, but you never really know. And I'm not one of the people who like, oh, I see this, so I'm going to look into it more because it interests me. There's so much stuff that I always have to like research with work and stuff like that. So I feel like the certain things that I'm more so educated on and I have to do better, like psych stuff, like psychology. Like I'll know about the new strategies for dealing with children with this disorder. I'll know about the new, connection between ADHD and this thing. But when it comes to like normal life stuff, I'm not really good at it because it takes so much energy to stay up on stuff in psychology that I'm not really
Yeah.
good at staying up on other stuff. So how'd you even like hear about the crystals or get into it or like all that?
So, well, I had a friend visit me, and she had these crystals on. She had on like a crystal ring. And I was like, oh, what's that? She was like, you don't know about the crystals? The crystals are like so good. And that was like it. Like that's all she gave me. And I was like, okay, let me put a pin in that. And then fast forward, I quit my job after 7 years, and I was just in this place of self discovery. And I started to kind of look back to my past of all the experiences that I had, and some really bad ones stuck out to me, and some really good ones stuck out to me. And one of the really good ones was when I was in New York, I used to do African dancing. And I remember like Saturday mornings going and just having like, oh, I don't know, like 20 different drummers and having all of the African dance teachers and students. And we would just be dancing for hours and hours. And they would pour libations, is what they call it. And they would be showing respect to the ancestors, and they would be burning frankincense and myrrh, and it was almost like a spiritual experience, right? And I remember that, and that kept sticking out to me. And I had some time on my hands, and I went to California, and I just feel like the air is different there. And I casually mentioned to someone, like, yeah, I want to learn about the crystals. And they were like, oh, so and so loves crystals, she'll take you. And then so and so took me to a crystal shop, and I just started doing more research on it, and I got books on it. And then I learned about, the aromatherapy. And it's actually then when I realized that what I was smelling when I was younger, when I was dancing, was actually frankincense and myrrh, and this is what it's used for, and so on. And so I felt like I needed something else, because I felt like I was a wanderer at this point in time. So I started researching the characteristics that I wanted in myself, and that was just strength. I wanted some self attunement to really have confidence and courage in myself and utilize my voice. And so my very first crystal was the carnelian crystal, and I just kind of built on it from there. But that's my very first crystal, and that one, to this day, I wear a necklace of it. Sometimes I'll take the little ones and I'll put them in my bra, because I just feel
What?
like,
That sounds painful.
they're
Is that not
smooth.
painful?
They're smooth. They're smooth and they're small. But I have also put the big jaggedy ones in my bra too, and I felt like I need a
What?
little extra stuff.
What? How do you look in your blouses? What are you talking about?
Because you want to keep them on your persons. That's the best way to keep them, because they're just a reminder. More than anything, you have them for a purpose, right? And so every time you see them, you're reminded of, stop being scary, like speak up, whatever it is that you have it for. So, yeah. So that's how I got into them, and I charge them. When there's a full moon, I take them outside, I put them on the earth, and because that's how you uh, clean out the energy and get them all juiced up. And sometimes you can feel the energy of the crystals. I couldn't at first, but now I do, and it's all good stuff.
Yeah, you said crystals tell you to stop being scary. Katie's also from New York. Like she's living in Texas now, but crystals tell you to stop being scary. So just put them in your bra, keep them moving. Like what you got to keep them on your person. Like what?
You do, because when you're a child and you watch kids in the playground, like my own son, like he is so fearless, he'll jump off of anything, you
Dude,
know,
he is.
unless unless he thinks there's a scary monster, then he's running away. But outside of that, he's fearless. And when you're an adult and you go through traumatic experiences, and you just have a lot of negative stimuli coming at you. You're looking at Instagram, they're telling you you're not beautiful enough. You have people in your life, they're not speaking positivity into you, and that stuff takes a toll on you. And for me, after a while, like I lost the sight of who I was, and I was always very fearless. And so I felt like I needed to reclaim that in my life.
Yeah, I get that. And that's kind of I did an episode talking about values and like the way you mentioned that like you were feeling like you're a wanderer and you realized like there were these certain things you wanted in your life. And to me it sounds like you identified certain values that you wanted to live according to and you adjusted accordingly. And like the crystals kind of help you bring that into your life as well. It's one of the reasons why I like working with kids so much because they're just so like they carefree. They have like reckless abandon. It's also very hard to do therapy with them because of this though. But like I'd be like, listen, stop. Listen, I know you're cute, but you got to chill out. Like we got 30 minutes for you to learn why you got to stop like punching kids on the bus. But like it's like the best thing about children. Children are magical. Like they just like they'd be like, oh, why's that person look that way? Oh, they just look that way because like some people have more melanin than others and their skin's different. Oh, okay. Why's the sky like this? Like they just want to answer it and they keep it moving. They don't say
Right,
like they just
right.
like it's just they take it in like, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna go jump off that bridge now. Because it looks fun. I'm gonna play with this person just because I want to play with them. They look kind of different, but no, they don't look different. I guess her hair's longer than mine. That's the only difference they can identify. Like children are
Right,
magical, like the way
right.
that they deal with things. And I feel like when we get older, we kind of lose that kind of that reckless abandon. We start the rules of society kind of impede upon us. Like we stop asking why. I feel like to get justification for it, and we kind of just go with it because it's like society standards. I think that's the biggest issue. Like children ask why all the time, and then you give them the answer, and they'll be like, "That makes sense," or "That don't make sense," or like, oh, well, that's a rule, but why is it a rule? That doesn't sound like a good rule. And it's like, it's not a good rule. It's just a rule we stick by because we're adults and we have to do it. And they're like, but why? That doesn't make any sense. Whereas adults were like, oh, this is the rule. This is what we do. We have to do it that way.
Yeah, and I feel like kids, like they're obviously still learning, they're still developing, so they're curious. And I think when we are adults, we already know all the answers. You don't have to tell us anything. I already know why you did what you did. I don't need you to tell me. And then it's no longer a conversation out of curiosity. It's coming from judgment and yada yada yada. Like, I don't want to grow up. I want to be a Toys R Us kids. Like
Yeah, and there's not even Toys R Us anymore. They destroyed our
this is why. That's
this
the
is
answer.
this is the problem.
That's why
They
we're
got
crazy.
they got rid of Toys R Us. I can't even make that joke anymore around certain generations because they're like, "What?
I
What are you
know my son
talking
doesn't know
about?"
what that is.
Exactly. This is where it all went downhill. Y'all closed Toys R Us, and now the world is just awful. No, but okay. Oh, you know what else though?
What
You
else?
mentioned you said you felt like you were a wanderer. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so I've always been, and for as long as you've known me, I'm pretty sure I've been this way out the womb. I've always been extremely I've always been extremely goal oriented. Like I knew what I wanted. I remember going to this Alvin Ailey like dance camp, and all of the dancers are sitting around the table and everyone is giving their dancer aspiration. And people are saying, I want to go be in the New York Ballet, I want to go do this, I want to be a backup dancer for the artist and all this stuff. And they get to me and I said, well, actually, I just I just want to pull up to dance class in my very expensive car once a week and just dance for fun.
Oh
And
my god.
I just felt that is like the perfect statement of who I am. I've always known what I wanted to do, and I've always wanted to be some sort of business person. I always wanted to be the boss. I always had direction. And when I got to 30 years old, I accomplished pretty much every single goal that I set for myself. And I was just like, okay, but what next? And I couldn't see it. Normally, I can sit down and write, my 3 goals for the year, my 5-year plan, and I'm a planner and I'm a doer. And I just got to a space where none of the things that I said I wanted satisfied me anymore. And I didn't know why. And I literally just hit the pause button on my life because I'm used to I'm very much used to enjoying the fruits of my labor. And it seemed like I was just laboring and laboring and laboring and going around in a very sad, joyless, unhappy circle. So I put a pause in my life. I quit my job. I don't know if that was the best decision, but it gave me some time to really deal with myself. And I don't think most people even, one, recognize that you need, well, that you have a problem, or
Yeah.
two, that you need to fix yourself, or three, even get the opportunity to do that. So I'm forever grateful that I did that because I learned a lot about myself, even just why I reacted in certain ways that I did, why I left the relationship I was in for 6 years. Why did I even end up in that relationship? So I just really started to ask myself these questions. And then after I kind of flushed out all of that, then all of the goals and the ambition just started flowing back into me. And now I have new goals that I want to accomplish, and I've been able to find value. I think I just lost my purpose.
Yeah, but you're talking about like when you recently quit your job, right?
Yeah.
So I think I you said you don't know if it was the best decision. I think it was a great decision. um and not just because like just like what was happening with the job and like how it really wasn't supporting everything that you were just working too hard, but also because of the growth that happened when you quit your job. Um like you were able to do so. Okay, so can you talk more about like, because I tell you all the time like this was the best idea. Even when you like left your job and you saw people from work, they were like, dude, you're glowing. It's like, yeah, you over here
Yeah.
living your best life. So can you talk more about like how you got, I feel like you got more centered with your whole like mind body connection thing when you started and getting more
I
involved in like
did.
working out, you started getting more involved in like eating back to how you're eating, because anytime, so anytime Katie is like, I'm not eating how I'm supposed to be eating, like, and I'm like, what? And like my body is just like stuff is just not focusing right. Like I'm just it's because I'm not eating how I'm supposed to be eating. So you got like more linked into that. You started doing like talk more about like after you quit your job, how you just you like
Uh,
restarted, and it was
I
all like it was a lot of like physical things that you did with your life. Like you were like doing more affirmations and stuff, but you also did a lot of work on your body and yourself as a person.
Yes, yes, I did. I feel like you told them what I was doing, but I so I wanted to have some sort of I wanted something to come out of this time. Like, that was a really big decision to leave my job. And even though I didn't know what I wanted the outcome to be, I knew that at the very least, I should take care of myself. So I was waking up every morning. I was going for runs. I was not fast, y'all. So some days it was more like a skip, a skip walk combination. But I felt very good just being in nature, which I've been working for as long as I was able to work, and being outside just I've just become accustomed to this sedentary lifestyle and having the artificial lights on me. So I would get up, I would go run, or I would walk, do my yoga, do my meditation, eat very clean, I guess is a good way to put it. Preparing a lot of my own meals, because back to like the crystal thing, when you're working with crystals and all that spiritual stuff, you want to be very intentional in what you're doing. So I try not to eat out as much because I don't know who these people are. I don't know what their intentions are in my food. So I just try to put in work, or even if I'm down or something, I would try to sit in my meditation a little bit longer. Be depressed, I would probably, not probably, this is what I did. Sometimes when I was depressed, I would kind of withdraw so that I could rebuild myself and put in extra time. And I'm going to do a bath, and I'm going to light candles, and I'm going to create a relaxing environment so that I can relax and restart tomorrow. So, yeah, I did a lot of physical things and not just rubbing on the crystals, but I did a lot of physical things. Make sure I'm tracking the water, not so much alcohol. And you go to work, you hate your job, you drink. You drink a lot. And I limited my alcohol. I also wasn't working, so I wasn't trying to go out that much. I did a lot of things just trying to keep my head right. And then they became my habits. And, they fed into my productivity.
Yeah, and when you so like I really like the fact of like talking about you don't know the people's intentions when they're making your food. Because that's something I don't really think about. But when you say eat clean, what do you mean by eat clean?
Eat clean, like mainly I only do like seafood, but I'm only doing like wild caught stuff, and I'll do a lot of vegetables. Like I think I eat an entire avocado a day. Kale. I'm not one for like the smoothies just because I feel like it's supposed to be easy, but it takes a lot of time. Um, I eat a lot of like pink salt, cayenne pepper on stuff, cucumbers. I like to eat like fresh food. I feel like when I eat unprocessed food, I feel better and I don't feel heavy, and I feel rejuvenated as opposed to I eat a slice of pizza and now I want to take a nap. So just that's my version of eating clean, like food for fuel and for energy and taste good, obviously, because I can't eat food that doesn't taste good. But and not to
Yeah.
say that I don't eat a slice of pizza here and there, but it I was paying more attention to my body's responses to the things that I put in my body. And I realized that I had some sort of hormonal issue. So I started taking like just natural supplements to regulate my hormones and my mood and my vitamins, and take my collagen, take my E, just things that enriched me overall and not just one area of it. When I worked in an office, I think I did more things like just to be skinny, but not necessarily to be healthy. And I think that your mind and your body, it's all connected. Even I go to church too. I do a whole bunch of things just to make sure that I am able to put out the type of energy in the universe that I want to receive back. So I'm going to go into work every day and put a smile on my face, not because I feel like I have to, but because that's the type of energy that I want to bring out into the world. Do I always feel like that when I wake up? No, but I do things to put me back in a better headspace and to reset me from the day before.
Yeah, and so like every single day you're living by intention, right? Like you're and everyone doesn't do that. I think sometimes I try to work on not turning a bad moment into a bad day when I get
Yeah.
cranky. Cuz just walking around cranky is just so annoying. And plus it's not a good space to go into when I'm like I always have to regroup before going into a session because
Right.
being a psychologist, you have to be the calmest person in the room, especially with children and working with families because it can get real deep with families. But I
Mhm.
feel like you always like know a wealth of information um when it comes down to like you said the collagen and E and stuff like that, but it seems like you always know that stuff, like you always research it. So how did you even like do you get like the crystals, you said you got books and stuff like that and you were talking to people, you went to shops. Well, for the vitamins, did you do the same thing? Like how did you know like, okay, this is lacking in my body, I need to take this? How do I know that this is what I'm supposed to be taking? Like how did you research that? Where
Yeah.
did you start?
I think my baseline for my health has always been during that time when I was a vegetarian. And whenever I'm missing something, I think back to that time because I was never sick. I don't know if you remember that when we were in high school, like I never got sick. I just never had any sort of health issues. So that I always think back to that, right? Um, like my skin was just looking dull. And I was like, okay, like what can I do for this? What can I eat? And your food is your medicine. And I believe that, especially for my vegetarian days, if I was feeling a little off when I was a vegetarian, all I did was change my diet. And so I always think back to that. And I have like, old teachers that I knew and we shared the same philosophies. And I'll reach out to them and say, okay, I feel like this. And then they'll give me like 15 natural remedies. And then I'll go from there. So I do research it. A lot of times when I stay up late at night when I can't sleep, I try to get some value out of that. So I'll do a bunch of random things. Like I'll look up restaurants that I want to try and I'll bookmark them. I'll look up places I want to go. And then I also try to look up something that I want to enhance about myself. I feel like for all of the 30 years and everything that I had pursued, even though I had benefited from it, you could tie all of those things I did back to someone else that I wanted to make proud. And I think during this step away, pause moment for myself, I've just decided to be a little selfish. And if there's something that I don't like about myself, then I'm going to put some effort into improving it some way.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Like, so you mentioned that like you got to this point after you left your job where you like even before you left your job where you weren't able to like come up with any specific goals that you wanted to achieve because you felt like you achieved them all. And I feel like being with myself being in school for so long, I used to think I'm going to do this with my career, I'm going to do this, and then I used to hit these milestones in my career like getting my first master's or getting my second master's, or like I recently defended my dissertation, and like it didn't really, I didn't get that like climate, it was like very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
um because like these were goals that I had, but then things have shifted, right? Like, so ever since like I got pregnant, I realized I was having a baby. I'm like, like goals, the things that I really want to achieve more are more family things. Like I think
Yeah.
before in the beginning, I was putting like school at the apex because like you put so much into this education. This program is so hard. You have to like sacrifice so many things to get into the program. And then you hit these milestones and they're supposed to be the best thing in the world and they're not. Versus like going to see an ultrasound. I'm like, oh, I've felt high off of this for like weeks. Or
Right.
like it's like this was better than any defense that I've ever done. Like, and the defense is like that's the thing. Like it's like you do your dissertation defense, you get your paper in a couple of months, but you're done. You've met all your requirements. And I didn't feel like ridiculously high off of that. Like I was just like, okay. And it wasn't exciting. And then my in-laws threw me a surprise baby shower and I was like, this was like the most amazing thing ever. Like this is the feeling that I expected to get from work. And honestly, in the beginning, I kind of did get that from work. When I was able to get into my PhD program, that was amazing. Or when I got something published, that was amazing. But I don't get that from work as much. Like I enjoy my job, but now it seems like my goals are all family goals. Like they're all things I want to achieve family wise. Like being mindful of balancing work and balancing home. Like, because before I didn't have a good balance with that. You know that I'm terrible at it. I used to just be like, I used to just be like, you're like, so have you slept? I have not. I've also haven't eaten, but what I have done is edited the freak out of this paper. It's amazing. This
Oh
paper
my
is
God.
great. This paper is amazing. But now it's like, it's like, I'm tired. I have a whole human in me, and they're actually making me go to sleep, and I just don't like not having the control over myself. It's not fair, but it really makes me think about like this is what's more important. Like me, I've completely like revamped the goals I want for work. I used to want to do like research and then therapy and then also have like a whole organization. And now I'm like, you know what? I will never work 5 days a week. It's never going to be a thing. Like I'm not going to do it because I think there's plenty of things that we can do, but I also want to be home in time for like being able to engage with my children because my job's really draining. Working 5 days at my job, there's only so much energy that I can give someone else. So like I kind of just revamped my goals because it's just I think there's always a time when we kind of have to take a minute to see like if the goals that we're working towards are still the goals that we should be working towards. Because it can be different. And I'm not saying drop out of stuff. It's not like I'm dropping out of school, but I don't really get the high off of work as much as I used to. Now it's more so like I really want to be more family oriented because especially, and you know what it could be, working in family therapy, all the kids really want is your time. Like the parents like buy their kids stuff and they put them in all these organizations and stuff like that, but when I'm with the kids one on one, all they want is their parents time, man. Like for real. And working through that, I'm just like my goals need to be different.
I think I
Like
was
to me.
having I think I was having a very similar conversation with someone the other day, and I was just saying that I'm just so grateful for all of the experiences that I've had and to have had them at such an early age because I feel like I'm going into a whole new stage of my life and I'm still learning, I'm still developing, but there is nothing compared to you having that firsthand experience. And I think that's kind of what it is for you. You've done the school thing, Now you're doing the mommy thing, and you're going to find your balance between that either. That also, but what I can tell you is that I know that you love what you do, and I don't ever see you not doing that. And that's kind of where I am in my career too. I'm like, wow, I stepped away from this position, but actually I love being in leadership. I love training people, I love developing people, and I love watching them just flourish on their own. So it it's just a beautiful thing to have all of this experience and making very conscious decisions and not allowing life to kind of push you around and you just going with the flow. I hate that term because like
It's just
make a
I
decision.
don't understand it. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like what?
I mean, in a spiritual context of like going with the flow of the universe and not going against the grain, that I get, but you have to take an active role in your life and not allow people to make your decisions for you. And if you don't speak up and you're just going with the flow, you might not get the best experience out of life. So you have to be wide awake and a willing participant in what's going on.
Yeah, and you know what? I think some of my best experience came from going against the grain. First
Mhm.
of all, like I met my husband going against the grain. I don't think I know most people like so I just went up to him and I was like, "You're cute. Put my number in your phone." We've been together ever since. Like, like
Hilarious.
it was literally that is how I met him. It was just like, yeah. And then I remember commenting on your phone. He had an Android. I hate Androids. Everyone knows this. I was like, ugh, this is your phone. I'll still give you my number. But like that was going against the grain. I'm on my internship. No, most people do not get pregnant during their internship, but I was just like, I'm so sick of putting stuff off. I'm so sick
Yeah,
of putting things off. So that's going against the grain. I mean, anyone who's like deciding to pursue education or do stuff like that, especially with minorities, like that's going against the grain. Like it's just, I feel like some of my best experiences have been going against the grain, just being like, you know what? Or and I speak out against everything. I would say that's the majority of my that's like the that's like the integral factor in my personality. Like, well, I understand we normally do this, but I do not like it.
right,
So I'm not doing
right.
this. But in the same vein, like I do have to do better with going with the flow when it comes to things because like balance is always a thing. And I know we always say balance, but I always state that it's hard to have balance because the only thing that's kind of made things easier for me to have balance is that I have someone shutting my body down. Like just being like, oh, we're done here. I want to
Right,
go home.
right.
Like this is it. I can't like I can't eat the junk that I used to want to eat that I used to eat because like, oh, I don't like this. So I'm just gonna evacuate all of this and you're gonna get some fruit because I don't like it. Like it's just like it's just that's the only thing that kind of shuts it down for me. I would say before I was pregnant, if I didn't work out, I was, oh my God, I was in such a cranky mood. I don't know how people do it. Like there has to be some aspects of working out in my life because it really just help center me better. Like I'll have a mood when I go to work out and I'm not one of those people who's just like, oh, I have to be in a perfect mood to work out. I have worked out angry, happy, pissed off, excited. I've had tears come out when I worked out and I still felt better. Like I feel like you need to just do what you need to do and I also feel like Black people, we need to be in nature more. Cause I used to be in nature all the time when I was younger. My mom put me in every camping thing in the world. And it's really calming. I really think there's something wrong with like us being around the city too much. I think it messes up our I want to say zhuzh, but that's not a thing. What's the stuff?
Well, I read about this thing recently called earthing, I think. It's basically when you go outside and you put your bare feet on the ground and it says like the gravitational pull of the earth's core kind of realigns your own energy in your body. And because we wear shoes all the time, we never get that. And that absolutely makes sense to me. Like, think about going to the beach or going to a park and kicking off your shoes, and you just feel better. I think that we have amazing technological advances in our society, but a lot of it does take us outside of nature. And I feel horrible just being cooped up inside a structure all day, every day, with the artificial lights beating down on me. My husband, he is like he'll stay in the dark in the house. Like the sun, it has to be pitch black outside for him to turn the lights on because he thinks the artificial lights drain him, and he works outside all day long. So he is like the best example of it. And the guy's always happy. What's his problem?
That man is always happy.
What's his problem?
Yeah, I think like we always have there's this whole like, oh, black people don't do this, black people don't do that. But like one, I think there's been a transition between people getting more involved in like black people getting more involved in their health and the natural stuff and the chakras and the meditation and all that. But like I think we need to get more pushed out into nature because like when it gets warm and when it gets warm out and we're outside and like just being able to walk out, like it's just so much better. Like
Mhm.
I really feel like, and we're all, how many of us are really like cooped up in these buildings with like these artificial lights. When I was like working in the beginning in my doctoral program, our offices didn't even have like windows, and I was like, I'm convinced you guys did this so we wouldn't know how long we've been here today at work. But like now it's we have a window, and then and honestly, the window helps us be more mindful. Like, what time is it? It looks pitch black outside. We need to go home. And then even in that, you're cooped up in a car, and then you go back into your home, and then that's your Monday through Friday. Like, I really think there needs to be, it shouldn't be just living for the week. Like, it shouldn't just be the weekend. The weekend shouldn't be the only time when you're able to take a step back and get into fresh air. Like, there should be, it doesn't have to be all day. Like, I'm not saying walk a mile outside. I'm not saying don't though, because I think it would also be helpful. But you know, I'm saying if you could just take like 10 minutes, and even like 15 minutes, you walk back and forth 15 minutes, that's a mile. Just, you don't even have to run. Like, you can walk a 15-minute mile most of the time. I just feel like we need to get back to being more outside because I mean, there's no research on this, but we were stolen from a place with more sun in nature. Nobody thinks this is affecting us. This is impacting us. Like, I've always felt like we've needed more sun. I just always have. Just because we were stolen from a place where we had more sun. So like being inside, I don't think it's our thing. I don't think we're supposed to be inside as much as we are. I have no evidence of this. This is just me deciding that since we were taken from Africa, we need more sun and we should be outside more. Like, we should just work out more. This is how it should be. Maybe
Word.
someone will do an article about this.
Word. I think, but I do think that there's like studies to show that you have elevated levels of serotonin when you spend time outside. I think there's studies that say that, but
I don't know of any.
I'm not the doctor here.
I'm not, I'm not, I'm not researching a thing. I always preface it with like, hey, this is not a professional opinion. I just want to be mindful. Like, there are things that I will say are my professional opinion, and there are things that are like, just there's no evidence to state this. It's just something I think is right, so I'm gonna say it. And I like the way it sounds. So like,
Me too.
and this is why, like, everyone who comes to me when they have children who have like their like executive functioning difficulties, and they're like, what should I do? I want them off the technology. And I'm like, you're going to take away something they love, and you don't replace it with anything. So you can't just take away someone's like video game and not replace it with like another pastime like soccer or something like that. It would be like if I came
Yeah.
home every day and they took away my, like, well, I can't have it anymore, I have had this taken away, but they took away my wine and you don't even give me juice instead. Like, what the freak? This is my routine. Like, this is something I like. You can't just take something away from children and expect them not to get pissed off. So say you want them off the video game. Well, what are they going to do instead? They have to do something fun. And my suggestion is always get them outside. A tired child is a happy child.
And it's
I used to
free.
run my little brother up and down the hill at the park until he said he was tired. He'd be asleep at 5. My mom would
Yeah.
always ask me, like, how do you do this? I'm like, we just run. We just run at
I
the
do
park.
that
It's
to my
free.
son too.
Yeah, like, let's just run. Okay, let's do this. Until when they collapse, I'm like, oh, you tired? Okay, let's go home.
I trick him. I'm like, you want to race? You want to race?
Yes. Me and my brother used to play this game called Catch the Princess. Now, mind you, this is when I was 16 and I could actually run. Like, I can't. It will be a brisk jog at this point. It'll be a skip. It'll be a skip at this point. But we used to just run up and down this hill, and he would have fun because we're running and we're outside, and he can like roll in the dirt. And I was just like, I mean, why not? I have 16-year-old energy. This is nothing. And he would be exhausted when he got home, and then there's no issue of focusing because they're asleep. Make them
Yep.
go to sleep. So like, yeah, I don't know how I got into that.
No, that's good. So like a few weeks ago, we took CJ to this park, and I don't know why I did this, but while we were driving, he had his tablet, and then we came out of the car and he was in his stroller. I gave him the tablet, and then my husband was like, this is nature family time. Why are you giving him that? And
Oh,
somebody
Joseph.
somebody tells you something about your parenting, like you're already like, don't be telling me nothing about my child. But then I had to really check myself, like, you know what? You are right. And he did, like, he, for the most part, like, CJ wasn't even in the stroller. Joe took him to all the little scary parts of the park that I don't want to go, and CJ was running, and before you knew it, like, we had went through the whole trail, and he was passed out by the time he got back in the car, and we
Yeah.
all got our exercise that day.
Yeah. I think we all need to be in nature more. Did we cover everything that you do? Because you do a lot of stuff. Oh, the yoga thing. We didn't talk about the yoga thing. How long have you been doing yoga?
I don't know. I've always tried to do yoga. I am not a yogi by anyone's standards, but I try to have, like, so they have series of things that you can do, and I have one that I do in the morning before I go to work because it stretches me out and it makes me feel stronger. And ever since I had my son, my core is like not worth a damn. So and then my husband, he'll like poke me and I'll fall over. So it just strengthens me overall, and I'm not all winded to go up the stairs and all that good stuff. But I have a yoga mat and I record yoga on the TV. It comes on like one of the free public channels, and I record it and I do it. The end.
Yes, and all the things like would you say that any of these things you do are ridiculously expensive?
Heck no. Heck no, not at all. Outside is free.
Outside is
Out,
free.
outside is free. Taking my son to the park so I spend time with him is also free. Sometimes we do things like go to the trampoline park, and then that's fun for both of us. But what else do I do? The crystals are really cheap if you want to get the crystals. They're like dollars, single digits. Um, my meditation, free. Just find a quiet space, sit down. You could do apps that are free. You could do some YouTube stuff that's guided meditation, free. Running, free. It's all free. Like, that was another thing too that I kind of came to that conclusion when I wasn't working, that I didn't want to have to spend money to enhance myself. Obviously, uh, buying the vitamins and that type of stuff costs money, but I felt like I had an abundance of physical things in my life, and I felt like I wasn't getting value from them. So I sought out to bring myself abundance in other ways. So I feel good when I'm in nature and I'm outside and I'm working out, but I just don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, I get that. And even like with, and I always ask about money because that's always the thing that stops a lot of people. But everything you mentioned was free. There's also the fact that you mentioned like the yoga, you just recorded off of public access TV. Everyone's on YouTube for everything else, but there's YouTube channels on yoga. And also, if you need help eating clean, there's YouTube channels on that. And I think when I was eating crap, when you would just be like, why are you putting these things in your body? It is actually less expensive for me to eat clean because one, I'm not buying junk. Two, because if I'm eating junk, like my body is not really getting satiated, so I eat more, meaning I'm spending more. Um
Yes. Yes. I
and
feel
when I
like
was
that's the biggest thing people talk about, like, oh, eating healthy is so expensive. Let me tell you, I go to Sprouts weekly and I don't spend over $20, and I'm getting all my avocados, all my eggs, my almond milk, and a fruit, a couple fruits. Like, it's still under $20. Like, don't tell me that. It's
yeah,
not
and I didn't even I don't know if everybody has a Sprouts, but I didn't even know about Sprouts until Katie just loves this place. It's insane. At
I
one
do.
point, I really felt like you were there every single day a week, and I was just like, "All right, girl, like this is like
I know. It was so
it's
great.
a grocery store." So it's like all like I would say like darn near the majority of things are organic. So it's like I would say it's like Whole Foods, but it's way more reasonably priced. It's like a farmer's market, I would say, like because even the vibe of it, like it's way the ours is like very open air.
Yeah.
Like there aren't like a ridiculous amount of aisles. Like it
Mhm.
seems like honestly, the focus of the room is in the middle, and all the fruits and veggies are like in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
So it's like that. It's very well priced. When I was craving watermelon, I actually am still craving watermelon. But when I was craving watermelon in what was it, November? I've been craving it forever. It was the only place where I can get a watermelon in November. Which like it's all I wanted. So I was like, I don't care how much it costs, and it was reasonable. And I don't really spend that much money on that. Like I do eat meat, but I don't eat that much meat. It's never been a like a center in my life. My husband eats a lot of meat, so that's kind of when I had to cook it more, so I would kind of eat it more. But it's never really vibes with me that much. It's kind of one of the issues right now with this whole pregnancy thing because I need to get more protein. But and there are other ways to get protein. I just don't want them. But like I just don't want them. I don't want the protein shake. I don't want the lentils. I don't want them. All I want is carbs. But it's just easy to make like something simple. Like I just do a starch, a veggie, and probably like some aspect of protein. It's never expensive because I'm a student. Okay. I you know, I am broke. I don't ever have money. I don't ever have money. Okay. And like, even as like being done and like being like doctor, whatever, I'm still in, I got a whole second part of my residency to start in September. So I am still broke. So if I can afford it, you can afford it. Chips cost it. Chips cost more. The processed food costs more than getting vegetables half the time if you're being mindful of what's in season. Like it
Yeah.
really is. Or getting grain, like getting like quinoa or like rice, something like that. Like that actually a big bag doesn't take that much. Like you don't, it doesn't taste bad either. Getting out a lot of seasonings, fresh seasonings help a lot. But it's really putting stuff in my body. I'll feel gross if I eat too much junk. Now I feel gross later. When I'm eating the pizza, it's amazing. It's the best thing in the world.
But
But
I feel like what happens is, you get on YouTube, you get on Instagram, and you see all of these people with all these elaborate, acai bowls and all these fruits and vegetables that you can't pronounce. Like, I love me an acai bowl also, but $10 is a lot for one thing to have it every single day, right?
yes, $10 for
So
one thing.
that's what happens. I think that's what people see, and therefore they think that to be healthy, they have to spend this exorbitant amount of money. Like, a head of lettuce is 99 cents, 89 cents if it's on sale. So what are we really talking about here? Like, don't go try to recreate this whole fake life, fake social media life. Like, just get the stuff that's in season and on sale. Like, that's how I decide what fruits I'm gonna get for that week. Whatever's on sale, that's what we get.
Yeah, honestly, I've become more flexible. I get what's on sale. If
Yeah.
I can't have like a pink lady apple this week, then I'm gonna get a Macintosh, or I'm gonna get like I'm gonna get like if the quinoa or the brown rice happens to be on sale or jasmine rice is on sale, I mean that's the one I'm getting. It's not
Right.
about it being more expensive. One, you just have to be more flexible. You have to get into the fact of like you can't always have every single thing that you want. It's just not gonna happen. If you want to spend the extra money on like getting watermelon out of season, which is what I have to do, something else has to give. Like that's just what's going to happen. I don't think it's that it's more expensive. I think it takes more time, and time is money, right? Because you can never get time back. Time is the most like precious commodity. So when you people say that like eating healthy is expensive, I'm just like, oh, because you mean it's because it's taking more of your time? Because it's not taking more of your money. It's not. It's just taking more of your time to figure out what are you going to eat to prep instead of being able to just drive through a drive-through and they just give you the options that you're used to. It
Right.
has nothing to do with fiscal cost. It has something to do with it's your time and it's your life. So like, suck it up. Like just you deal with it. You can't. You know what? You can't have that fruit this week. It's not on sale. Suck it up. You eat something else.
Yeah.
like,
No. Or you learn to like things like bananas. Those things are always cheap.
oh my god, bananas are always. You just put that. I wanted straw. I wanted. What did I want in my yogurt? I wanted mango. It was not on sale. I was like, well, you
Yeah.
know what I'm gonna have? I'm gonna have some bananas and some honey, and that's what we're gonna do because I got the honey in bulk. And it was
There
on
you go.
sale and I got plenty of that. But no, you just have to adjust. Like you got to be more flexible in life anyway. But I a lot of times when I'm talking to my patients, when we start talking, especially with the teens, because they just have the magical bodies to eat whatever the freak they want. A lot of times when we check in with what's going on with them, I always check in with like their sleep, their eating, their exercise and stuff like that, and then we get into the rest of their body stuff. Because a lot of times when you're feeling depressed, you are going to withdraw. So we do this thing called it's called different things in different theories, but it's either behavioral activation or opposite action, which is basically if you're feeling depressed and you normally withdraw, that you have to do the opposite now. So like if you're feeling depressed, you normally go to your room. Now you can't go to your room because that's doing the whole cycle of you feeling worse. So now instead of feeling sad and going to your room, you feel sad, you got to go outside. Instead
Mm.
of like feeling anxious and you like kind of just start doing crazy stuff, you kind of have to do your breathing exercise. It's really just to do the opposite thing. So we check in with them about like what they're eating, and because children don't think about what they're putting in their body. We used to get pizza every freaking day, Katie. We used to walk to get slices like every day.
First of
it,
all,
it was
first of
magical.
all, mine has spinach on it, and it was delicious.
Oh yes, oh yeah, the spinach is definitely that's what made that healthier. Yes.
It was so
I remember I
good.
remember thinking like when I moved down south and I started gaining weight, I'm like, why am I gaining weight? I don't walk nowhere. We used to
That's
walk. I used
exactly
to,
what I was about to say. We were all so skinny because we were just walking all over. Like we were
yeah.
walking miles and miles
Yeah,
daily.
daily. I would save a token. I'd be like, listen, I mean, we can use this token to take the bus, or we can just walk the mile down the street and now we got this token to go somewhere else later. Think
And
about
then
it.
remember the bus where the bus stop was still really far from our house.
Yes.
And then we go to places like the mall, which we did way more walking in.
Yep. And we were not purchasing things except for like a
Yeah,
mocha lotta chill from Cinnabon,
yeah.
um, a Taco Bell, Mexican pizza, no meat, beans
Beans
instead, because
instead.
Katie don't eat meat. Um, walking around the store, so it's just like you have to like you have to get out there. Okay, everyone get out there, get a better mind body connection. I feel like Katie is like really good at that. And having people around you that like do different things really helps you, because honestly, like when it comes to like, oh, I'm considering I'm taking this crazy vitamin and this is going to be stupid, I'm just like, Katie, have you heard of this? No, don't do it. Like, if you want some stuff, I tell you some stuff, I send you some research. Don't just be taking stuff. Like, this is the person I always approach.
Yeah, no.
Um, or if I'm like sounding cranky, like, well, you don't sound good. What you doing today? You need to go to sleep.
Yeah. Go lay down
Go
somewhere.
lay down. And I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry, but I don't know why. What you eat? Nothing. Junk. Maybe you need to eat some real food. Like, just you need to have people around you like that. So one of the things I always end with is, well, it's two things, okay? And you can do whatever order you want. So favorite book, or a book that you feel like everyone should read, and you would probably have a bunch of them, affirmations or like mantras or like philosophy that you go by in life that you feel like would be helpful for people to hear.
I do have a lot of those things.
Pick
Um,
three, pick three, pick three, pick three.
Jesus Christ. I don't know what the picture means. Okay, so I'm listening to actually look how that worked out. So actually I'm listening to an audiobook, You Are Badass. And Raquel sent me the daily calendar of this book
Oh yeah, I love that thing.
like 2 years ago or something. And I'm like just listening to the audiobook. I'm like, oh, this thing is awesome. Um, and then I'm reading Becoming in the bathtub. So nobody like give me any spoilers on it. But whenever I take my baths, I'll read a few pages out of that book.
Wait, you mean Becoming Michelle Obama's book?
Yeah, that book.
Okay,
Don't
so I don't want to
which
give you any spoilers, but I mean,
what?
you do know that some things happen, and her job that she becomes this lady, and
Whatever,
I don't
whatever.
want
I
what
don't
kind of
mean that.
stuff, Katie? What
I
kind
don't
of? Don't
mean
give me.
that. I don't mean that
Wait,
part. I've just heard a lot of things that are in the book, like her
wait.
challenges with fertility and stuff like that. Like I know that part. I know the end. I'm just talking about in between,
That
okay?
was the craziest thing. I'm reading Becoming. Don't tell me no spoilers. I don't want to know.
Don't
I'm
don't
like,
tell me. Don't tell me the details in the middle because that's the part I
oh my
like.
God.
Okay.
Oh my
I
goodness.
read it. I just feel so great about myself, and I'm like, man, she is me. So mind your business.
Such a ass. You know, she gets this pretty high profile job in the end. Like, I don't.
Jeez. Whatever, because I feel like it's a whole bunch of people posting this book on social media and they haven't read it.
Yeah, I see people posting like certain quotes, and I'm like, oh, well, now I know what happens with this part.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And wait, and You Are a Badass. Who is that by? This is that the one that's by what's her name?
Her last
I'm
name
a
starts with an S.
Jen Sincero.
There you go. And
Okay.
I also heard her recently on this podcast I listen to. I'm not gonna plug another podcast, but she's pretty awesome.
You can plug another podcast. What? I'm making.
Oh, I can?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's another thing I didn't mention. Like, I love podcasts, particularly podcasts to do with women in leadership. Um, I think that's one of the podcasts I actually listen to. Women in Leadership Project, Women at Work, and Secrets of Successful Women. Love them.
Oh, I'm gonna put all these podcasts in the show notes because I haven't heard about any of them. I tend to like podcasts that are a lot of like narratives, like just like when people just talking about stuff and sharing their experiences. Because you just find that like so many people's experiences are similar to yours, and it kind of just I really like hearing that.
Well, I've learned one of the things I learned in my time out was I needed more resources for myself in navigating the corporate world because I didn't really have anyone in my circle that had gone through all of this before. So I really like podcasts where the women do share their narratives, but then they also give you actionable steps to take in order to enhance your professional experience. So that, and then you want to know some mantras or affirmations or whatever.
Yeah.
um, I always wake up and I say it's going to be a great day today, and then I say I'm grateful for my husband, my son, my husband's kids as well, and I'm grateful for our lives. And then when I'm running, or just when I can catch myself in a moment, I always say I want love, purpose, and financial abundance. And I will repeat that to myself over and over and over again because I feel like I forgot all of those things. I want to be loved for other people, and I want to receive love from other people because it is very much a driving force in a lot of my decision making. I want purpose because I felt like I lost all purpose, and I'm really into helping people. And I just want to constantly remind myself that this is why you're doing this, because ultimately you're aiding someone else. And I want financial abundance because, like, I need that money. Like, let's do this.
I need that money.
Let's
Give
get
me
this
the
money.
money.
Yes, and I
I
play
need
that
cheese
song
for my
every
egg.
day. I
I
play
play that
that
song
song
every day.
every single day. Okay.
Right? I need cheese for my egg. Yes. Let's do it.
Your listeners are gonna be like, "Who is this confused person?"
Cardi B be talking some truth. I love the way she said, I got a baby. This is real. Like she says it so hard. I'm like, okay. I need to get
Hey, that girl knows
intense.
what she's talking about.
Yes. Honey, mama needs a crib and a crib mattress. I don't know why they don't sell them together, but whatever. Like everything costs so much money. God. But okay. So thank you, Katie, so much for being on the show. Yeah, I knew this would be a longer, and we actually cut it. We were talking for like, what was it, hour before I recorded?
We started at almost 2 hours ago,
Yeah.
and we recorded for an hour.
Yeah. This is just like normal. I also like one of the reasons why I also like it really feel like it's important to have like to put out the conversations I have with my friends and things like that because I get so many different things from all of my friends and I love my husband to death. Like he's amazing. He's the person I'm supposed to be with. But my friends are everything to me. Like like there's only so much. I think you get a good amount from like your spouse, but I think you get so much from being around just a supportive group. And I always gotten so much from being around supportive women. Like all my friends are doing different things, but they're always doing so much that it kind of like pushes me. They help me to stay grounded. And I feel like there needs to be more inclusion of narratives between like the amazingness of friendships, like and how much it pushes you forward. Because like I just get so much from my friends. Like there's just like an energy. Like I feel like anytime like it's a phone conversation, and none of my friends live. Well, I actually have one of my friends actually lives near me. Thank goodness. And I met her in my doctoral program, but she's in the military, so she's leaving soon. So you kind of get used to having phone conversations and stuff like that. And I was just talking, and I'm bad at phone conversations half the time, like getting back. So we actually have to schedule them. Me and Katie. Like we'll just send like an eye emoji, like where the freak you been? What are we doing here? Like why don't well like we need to schedule a call, and then we schedule a call, we stick to the call, and then we are able to, and it's just so empowering. So I feel like, this is something that also helps with your energy. I feel like social support is something that can set people back when they feel like they're not also they like when they're withdrawing, because when you're having these issues you are withdrawing. Like you're not going to decide that you want to go out to the club when you're feeling pretty crappy, and I don't think you always have to go out, but I feel like it's something that makes me feel better to talk to. And Katie's normally my person who tells me to like sit down somewhere, so like you need to call people who can like give you some sound advice and help you out. And sometimes the advice is like sit down. A lot of I would say most of the time that's the main advice I get from you.
You're
It's
doing too much. You're doing too much always.
yeah, always like you're doing too much. You need to sit down. But I think like there's nothing more empowering than my friends. Like you just get something out of it, and you have to be around people who are doing stuff, because none of my friends are stagnant. None of them. They wouldn't be my friends because we don't vibe together. I'm like, we don't walk in the same streets. We're not on the same planet. Like you need to be moving. Like even so, I just really think that this is going to be a big part of the podcast, because I really like the conversations that we have, and we talk about so much stuff, and it's also empowering to know that like, yeah, you struggling, I'm struggling too, but we got this. Like this is not gonna be the end. So once again, thanks for tuning into the podcast. We're basically everywhere you like to listen to podcasts. We're also airing on YV Radio every Friday at 10 a.m. So tune into that. And I have an Instagram, which is Mind Your Mental Podcast. I have a Facebook that's Mind Your Mental Podcast. I'm not cool enough for a Twitter, so I probably will never have one. It's just I feel like Twitter is a cool man's game, and that's not me. And if you have any questions that you want answered on the air, just email me at mindyourmental podcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and have a good day.